There's a clip that went viral of a business owner in Michigan ripping the government for their failure on COVID and the economic fallout. So this led to a very mixed reaction online. I want to show you the clip. It's from some, local news outlet. So let's watch and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Tavarius, is everything okay?
Okay. My government leaders have abandoned me.
Are you the owner?
$4 trillion of stimulus money. They gave it to who? Special interest groups and campaign donors. I'm Dave Morse. I own the place.
So what's going on?
What's going on? You know what's going on.
Tell me. You tell me.
Hey, we got a government that has taken the stimulus money. They gave it to special campaign donors. They gave it to special interests. They abandoned me, and they have put me in a position where I have to fight back. Okay?
So do you feel that this is the right thing to do?
Absolutely. I feel everybody needs to stand up. Hey, listen, there was enough money to give every family in this country $20,000 to go home for 2 months. They chose to give it to special interests and campaign donors, the Kennedy Space Center, and they abandoned us. So you could have given me money. I'd gladly walk away for 60 days and let this virus settle down. I'm not going to do it alone. Okay?
Are you going to continue to violate the state's orders and
this
stay open?
State order. This isn't an order. This is a conspiracy. This is a tyranny.
What do you want to tell other restaurant owners who...
Wake up. Stand up. This is America. Be free. I got patriots coming out supporting me the last 2 days. You know what? It's a great thing. Wake up. This is America. Don't let them ramrod you. This is crazy when you turn around and you watch what's going on West Orange Avenue, the big department stores, the train station, the airports, side by side eating meals for 4 hours. And you're going to blame me? Come on. Come on. This is not right, and you guys know it. Everybody knows it. Stand up, America. Give us the money to shut this thing down and calm this virus, but don't take it out on a select few.
Is there anything else you want to add, sir?
That's it, brother.
All right.
I'm glad you listened to me. Thank you. Hey, I'm really
the entire
humorous
West
guy.
Michigan just listened to you. You're live on TV right now.
All right, I'm glad to hear that, okay?
Yes,
I'm really
sir.
a good guy. I've been married 38 years. I got a wife, 3 kids. I got 4 great-grandchildren. Let me tell you something. I got a good life, and I've worked hard for it. I'm not giving up easily. I'm not going down alone. They want me to go down and be quiet. They never want to hear from me again. I'm not going to put up with it. It's time to rise up.
Got you.
Got to rise up. Shut it all down, or don't shut any of us down. That's the only way to get control of a virus.
You know what's really interesting about this clip and what I love about this clip? It's that we actually don't know. We have no idea what his politics are in terms of partisan alliance. We have no idea. We don't know if he leans left. We don't know if he leans right. We don't know if he's a big-time Democrat or a big-time Republican. But what we do know is, on the substance of what he's saying there, he's absolutely correct. And, some of the details or the specifics might be off, but the gist of what he's saying is totally true. So he says that there's been trillions of dollars in stimulus, and they gave it to special interests and campaign donors. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. There was this multiplier effect where, the bill through Congress was actually probably around $1 trillion, but there was this multiplier effect where the Fed jumps in as well, and you really had the discretion of the Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, as to determine where a lot of the money went. And naturally, that guy's, a giant corrupt prick. He's a Goldman Sachs lackey. He should have been prosecuted by Kamala Harris when she was Attorney General of California because he was illegally foreclosing on people in California during the height of the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession, kicking grandmas and grandpas out on the street early. But she didn't prosecute him, and she didn't prosecute him because she was taking campaign contributions from him. So, but what this guy is accurately pointing out is, wait a second, you guys rushed in to help after or during COVID and during the economic downturn. But if you look at the specifics of where that money went, regular people were completely abandoned. And he's accurately pointing out that he was abandoned. He says, we had enough money in this thing to give every family $20,000. And then you absolutely would have had people able to shut down. You could shut down 80% of the economy and really keep only the very essential businesses open. And people would have weathered the storm. And they definitely would have stayed home in that scenario. But they didn't do that. And this gets to a point that, we've seen this play out throughout history. To bring it up again, a great example is the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis and Great Recession. The bailouts are always given to the people who make their campaign contributions. So that it's top-down bailouts. It's top-down bailouts. In other words, it's not bottom-up. It's not like, let's bail out the people so that they could stay in their homes, even though, they took on a risky loan and it was like a ballooning rate, adjustable rate mortgage that skyrocketed at a certain point. Now, you could say, hey, that was irresponsible to take out, but they're also not experts in finance. And really, the reason why they were able to take that loan out is because of the lax standards, lack of regulation, and the fact that, the people who were selling the mortgage were playing hot potato with these toxic assets, and they were getting their payday, and that's all that mattered to them. So the bailout was never bottom up. It never is bottom up. The bailout's always top down, and there's a reason for that. The reason for that is the elites can skim off the top, and sometimes it goes significantly further than that. I mean, a great example is what's been happening with the airlines. I think it was Boeing that they took like billions of dollars and then they fired tens of thousands of people. Like, hold on. I thought the idea was, if we're going to bail you out, like, thing number one on the list is we're bailing you out to make sure that you don't fire these people, but they fired everybody anyway. So he's right. He's right in pointing out how corrupt the system is, how broken the system is. And then he also says, listen, either shut everything down or shut nothing down, basically. And that sentiment kind of makes sense, because what we're seeing now, especially in California, there's been a lot of stories like this coming out recently. You have these small businesses that are being shut down. They can't afford to shut down. And then you have like big businesses that are able to stay open. And there was one example on social media, this video of a small business owner. This woman was crying, basically saying, they're shutting me down and we're outside, we're social distancing for my restaurant. And then they set up something right next door where it's a big business and they're allowed to stay open, and they're in the same damn parking lot. It's the exact same thing, the exact same social distancing, the exact same parking lot. Why is the big business allowed to be open, but I'm not allowed to be open? Because they have these loopholes, and the loopholes are, of course, for the people who donate to the politicians. And it's really gross when you see the way that this unfolds. I was talking about this the other day, but we've really hit a place where we're doing the worst of all worlds. So there's a left way to respond to COVID, and there's like a more right-leaning way to respond to COVID. The left-leaning way is shut down as much as humanly possible and pay everybody to stay home. You could do it in the form of universal basic income, recurring stimulus checks, basically, or you could do a wage replacement scheme like a lot of other developed countries have done, where they pay anywhere from 70% to 100% of people's wages. That's like the left approach. Lockdown, pay everybody to stay home. Then you have a more right-leaning approach, which is basically the Japan approach, which is limited economic shutdowns, but most stuff stays open, but you really kind of strictly enforce universal masks and social distancing. And in a scenario like that, perhaps you get more cases, but it could be somewhat manageable because the masks are universal, and you still have a degree of like economic freedom in that context, right? Those are really the ways you can approach this thing. What we did is just an utter mess. We did shutdowns, or like partial shutdowns, and then we only gave people one stimulus check for months, and that's not nearly enough. And then, the response varies state to state, and sometimes even like locality to locality or city to city. And the shutdowns are total half measures with giant loopholes for campaign contributors and things of that nature. And it's like, so you get the restriction of the economic freedom by shutting down without the benefits of really curtailing the virus, because they're so half-assed. So our response is basically as dumb as humanly possible. You had to do one of the two approaches and commit to it. Either limited shutdowns, you could kind of keep most things open, but universal masks and we're strict about it, or shut down and, replace everybody's wages. We didn't do either one of those things. We did this weird middle path, which means we have an exploding virus and restrictions on freedom. And this guy recognizes that. I think most Americans recognize that, and it's a mess. And so one of the giant downsides that we're seeing now is about 60%, I believe the number was 60%. It was either of restaurants or small businesses. I think it was restaurants. 60% of them are shutting down permanently now. Permanently. I mean, that's just a total remaking of the economy. And now monopoly power is going to be stronger than ever. and you're going to have even more wealth concentration in the hands of a few people, a few billionaires, and a few corporations. And so the effects of this are disastrous. And really, the CARES Act was just an example of Naomi Klein's shock doctrine, which is like, take a crisis and exploit it towards their nefarious ends, which is more wealth concentration and, more money and power for the haves, and you take away from the have-nots. So this is a disaster. I can see why this went viral. And I don't know if there's a light at the end of this tunnel, because, what's Biden going to do when he comes in? Do I think that if the Democrats were in control, we would have fewer virus deaths? I do. Because at the very least, they accept the tenets of science, whereas Trump was just, he's all gut and instinct, and he tries to override scientists, and he's just an idiot, right? He's dumb. That's obvious. So do I think the Democrats would have done better? Yes. How much better? I don't know. I still think we'd have a very, very high death rate compared to the rest of the world. I mean, more deaths compared to the rest of the world. And he's already sort of hinted that he doesn't think he has the authority to do certain things that would be necessary. Like if we're going to be largely open, mandate masks. He thinks I have to delegate that to the states. I don't have the power to mandate it at the federal level. That's probably debatable legally, but I don't know how much different it's going to be. I don't know if there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but a lot of the damage is already done. And so now we're seeing the cases are now worse than ever, too, and the deaths are now worse than ever, too. You have basically a 9/11 of deaths every single day. And on top of that, we're effectively in a depression. And the only thing that the morons in power can do is say, the stonks are going up, so isn't that wonderful? So this clip went viral because it resonated. And a lot of people are getting shafted. They're getting screwed. Economically, health-wise, freedom-wise. Again, it's the worst of all worlds response, and people are on to the fact that this is a giant scam. God, it breaks my heart now because I'm thinking about Bernie Sanders and how he wasn't able to break through. I mean, yes, he got screwed at the last minute with the Democratic machine behind the scenes, stabbing him in the back with Mayor Pete and Amy Klobuchar dropping out, endorsing Biden at the last minute, or else he would have won. All that's true. But, God, we had a unique situation here where he really could have argued correctly, I'm the only one that wants to address all these problems at the root. I'm the only one. Oh, would you look at that? We're having a pandemic, and I'm the candidate who's for giving everybody health care, who's for catching up to the rest of the developed world on that front. This is a no-brainer. Obviously, you support me and my candidacy. I'm the only one who wants to fix these problems in any serious way. But no, he wasn't able to break through. Anyway, I feel for this guy. I feel for all the small business owners. I feel for everybody affected by COVID. And something has to change. A lot has to change. At the very least, we need universal masks and a hell of a lot more stimulus for people. But I don't even know if we're going to get that.